We often get questions about co-writing, split sheets, and how to go about determining who should get what percentage of publishing rights to a song. If there was a one-size-fits-all answer for every scenario, everyone's lives would be much easier. But unfortunately, there's not. If you are the sole contributor on a song, there's not a whole lot you need to worry about. But if you worked with at least one other individual, whether it be a producer who wrote the underlying beat or a five-person band who each played a different role while writing the song, things can get more complex. Listen in as we navigate through the four common, but certainly not the only, co-writing scenarios, and examples of how you might determine the splits in each of these instances. Keep in mind, when registering your songs, especially with Songtrust, publishing splits must always add up to a total of 100%. Let's start with a basic scenario involving a single creator. Let's say you wrote the lyrics as well as the music on a song. You fully own the copyright to this song because no one else was involved in the creative process. Therefore, you own 100% of the publishing rights. This time, let's add a producer into the mix. You wrote the lyrics for the song, and a producer created the accompanying music to go with it. The two of you bounced off each other throughout the songwriting process to make sure that the two pieces fit together nicely. After you finalize the song in the studio, it's decided that you will each receive 50% ownership for the song. As individuals who have worked together in the past and plan to again in the future, you both agree that if one of you might have spent a little bit more time working on the song than the other, your efforts will likely even out in the long run. As we continue to add in more songwriters, splits can get a little more complicated. In this example, we have four of you. Yourself as the lead singer, a guitarist, a drummer, and a keyboardist. You wrote the lyrics and are the lead singer. The guitarist, drummer, and keyboardist all wrote their accompanying parts and will record those in the studio. There is no standard or template to follow in this situation, and it really comes down to the relationship you have with these other writers and what you all feel is ultimately fair for the amount of work put in. In the best case scenario, you all felt you equally put in the same amount of work, meaning the splits would end up at 25% each. Let's look at a final example, maybe one that's a bit more relatable. Here we are looking at a five-person band. You are the lead member, the singer, you've written the lyrics to the song, and outlined the basic chords to go along with it. Your guitarist, bassist, keyboardist, and drummer worked on the production and arrangement. You and your band decided that you would receive 50% of the ownership for writing the lyrics, plus an equal split of the rights to the music with the other band members. Therefore, you are getting 60% total ownership of the publishing rights, while the guitarist, bassist, keyboardist, and drummer each get 10%, totaling the full 100%. Remember that as soon as you start discussing other additions, like maybe your bandmates write their accompanying parts but don't record them in the studio, or you will play live shows and one person covers the upfront costs. All are worth taking into consideration when discussing splits, but can make it definitely a lot more complicated. As you can see, some like to keep things simple and straightforward when dividing the splits evenly amongst those who worked on the song, while others prefer to break up the percentages in relation to how much each individual contributed. We urge you to start the conversation early so everyone knows what's expected, and that way you can keep track of the efforts that everyone put in along the way. When you come together to finalize, you can just have an open conversation and maybe share your time trackers to use those as a way to negotiate on the splits. If there's one piece of advice you take away from this, let it be to fill out a split sheet and determine who will get what before you release the song. Trust us on this one. It will save plenty of headaches down the road and ensure that you are fairly getting paid for what you are owed. It's way too often that we hear about cases where a split sheet is never filled out, and once a song begins generating royalties, no one can agree on who deserves what.